Welcome to the Outdoor Marketing Podcast, the show that brings fresh marketing and creative strategies to the outdoor industry, helping professionals tell their story with clarity and impact. I'm your host, Miles Ramsey, and today we are going to be chatting with the Director of Brand Marketing for Trek Bikes. His name is Andrew Dutton. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to touch on copywriting. We're going to touch on AI and the use of AI in marketing, probably a few more things. So we're going to dive in here in just a few seconds, so stick around.
The Outdoor Marketing Podcast is a spin-off of the Outdoor Marketing Bootcamp, a 2-day virtual learning event on February 17th and 18th, 2026, which covers a wide range of marketing topics, from AI and SEO to influencer marketing, social media content creation, branding, video, and so much more. Tickets are on sale now at outdoormarketingbootcamp.com. Support for this podcast is provided by American Trails, advocating for more trails and better trails. Check out their site at americantrails.org. Support is also provided by 5280 Creative, a branding and marketing agency which specializes in the outdoor industry. Check out their work at 5280creative.com. That's the number 5280 spelled out creative.com.
Welcome to the Outdoor Marketing Podcast here. We got Andrew Dutton with us. Andrew is Director of Brand Marketing. Is that your position, Andrew?
That's the title, yeah.
Okay, very good. Trek Bicycles. How did you get into working for Trek?
Well, I'll be honest, it actually kind of took me quite a while to find a career path that worked for me. So maybe that'll be encouraging to some of the listeners that you have who are working to get into the outdoor industry. But for me, I've always loved bikes. I worked at a bike shop when I was 15 years old, Trek dealer actually. And I've always loved reading and the power of story. I was an English major in school and went on to do an MFA. And actually my first job in the outdoor industry was working for Ceres and Cyclops and PowerTap as a customer service rep. And I think, for me, that was a really interesting, essential chapter because, you're on the phone with somebody, they're struggling, and your role is to really solve the problem with empathy. That's kind of core to all service, I think. And
Sure.
For me, that's also core to writing. So a couple of years at Ceres, and then a job came up as a utility copywriter for Trek.
Yeah.
That was about 2014. And I jumped at the chance, of course. And what I found at Trek was this brand with an incredible soul and an incredible heritage, and just this level of caring and passion really from the top leadership down. And so for me, it was really an ideal seat to be loving bikes and writing about bikes and bringing that joy to a lot more people. So, in the last 11 years, we've been able to grow from what was a single copywriter, just me, to a full team that's actually headed up by the woman who's the first intern that I ever hired at Trek.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. It's a really good story. And, today, of course, my position's a lot broader than copywriting, but communications is still at the heart of it, just kind of on a bigger scale.
How long have you been in your current position? How long have you been in it?
Well, let's see, a couple years, I guess, in the current role. Yeah.
Have you guys at Trek? Have you? A couple of years isn't very long, so I'm just curious. Has there been any kind of like brand updates or anything like that under your leadership to date here in that role?
Yeah, well, one of the big things, Trek is a company where people stick around for a long time. There are hundreds of people who have been with the organization for more than 20 years. So a path within this organization is kind of like, people are contributing, I think, at a really high level, even if they're not taking on a specific director role or something like that. It's one of the really special things about this place. But, in terms of brand updates and what's coming next, we're definitely doubling down on storytelling and, bringing that soul of the brand back to our audiences and trying to get the word out a lot more. I also want to do a little plug here.
Please.
2026 is going to be the 50th anniversary of Trek. So
Nice.
We have a whole lot of interesting stuff planned for the coming year, including an in-person celebration here in Waterloo that coincides with the Trek 100 charity ride. So
that's cool.
It's going to be a really, really big year.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. All right, so the best is yet to come.
For sure. And although I think that's kind of core to Trek too, this 50th anniversary project is really interesting because we're
Hmm.
celebrating the history and the heritage, but we're also looking into the future. What are the next 50 years going to be like?
Robots, is that mostly what it's looking like right now, or?
Let's hope not. Um, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second. I want to explore that. Well, two things I want to explore. All right, let me go robots first, and then we'll come back to legacy. I want to talk about challenges later on about with a legacy brand like Trek. But first, let's talk about that. You're a writer. That's kind of your core creative construct is from that writing perspective, right? Now that you've opened it up, I mean, I'm sure that you're called in for a lot of different things at this point, and a lot of things under your belt. But coming from a writer background, just like me, and that being kind of the pathway to creative. What's your thoughts right now on what you're seeing out there in the world with people using AI for pretty obvious, copywriting needs? Where are you at with that right now?
I think it's a really important topic. And it's an important topic for an industry that values authenticity so much. So
Hmm.
my attitude and, kind of what I teach the team is that like the future isn't human writing versus AI writing.
Hmm.
It's human writing plus AI.
Hmm.
So that plus part is really crucial because it only works if the human stays in charge, meaning
Right.
the authenticity and the soul of the brand and what you really care about. uh I've always thought that you can almost feel that authenticity in writing on like a molecular level, like
Hmm.
something in your spirit moves when you read something that's
That's right.
truly authentic and amazing.
It
I
feels
can't
right. It just
really
feels right.
yeah, exactly, it feels right. Can't really define it, but it's there. um
Hmm.
so I think that's really important, that no matter what, you have to know what good looks like,
Yeah,
even if you're leveraging AI. So
I like that.
our approach is kind of like it's not just a tool to be faster and more productive, although a lot of people are thinking
Hmm.
of it like that. It's also a learning tool. And
Hmm.
there's no doubt that writers can use AI to get a lot better. Um, but that authenticity matters. It
Yeah,
matters to me personally. It matters to a brand like Trek.
yeah.
And part of that is because within Trek's ecosystem, we have an incredible amount of true lived experience. And
Hmm.
you just can't yet you can't replace that yet, I think, with AI. But I still think the message is that it would be a disservice, to yourself and your audience to think AI is going to do everything for you.
Right.
But it'd be a disservice to yourself and your audience to not leverage it to get better,
Hmm.
improve, and make sure
Hmm.
that your message can be received more broadly.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a really that's probably the best take on that I think I've heard to date. How those two things marry, because you usually have people on either side of the camp, right? And I think you do a really nice job of explaining how they can merge into one thing.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I think we're past the point of anti AI or AI.
It's
It's
there,
here,
yeah. And honestly,
Yeah.
yeah, we're no strangers to it. We've used it. I mean, I've used it since GPT came out. I was still working for somebody else at the time, and right when that soft launched, our CEO, called a meeting with all the VPs and he said to all of us, "Hey, this is a tool. Learn it, use it, figure it out. Find out how you can find efficiencies with it. Find out where it lacks. So ever since the beginning of that, that's always been a part of, at least my weekly process. And now I use GPT as I use Gemini a little bit too because I like the creativity a little bit more on Gemini, but for different
Yeah.
purposes. But on a daily basis, I absolutely lean into it. But like you said, you have to remember who's driving the vehicle. Who's got their hands on the wheel, who's hitting the brakes, who's hitting the gas, right? These are not self-driving autonomous vehicles. Like we have to make sure we still have some expertise on that. And as an example, recently we did a rebranding for a regional arts organization, and the organization's called the Allied Arts Council. And so part of our brand architecture that we were redoing on that was the brand voice and that positioning statements and taglines and things like that. And we did utilize AI to take our creative intake and stakeholder notes and to start with not a blank page, but with a half written page with AI, right? Here's what we're doing. What are your, give us some, diagnosis and analysis based on this. And it's a really great tool for things like that, to have intake, intake notes and to be able to kind of put something back at you. And we did use, but, and we asked it about taglines. We asked it, what do you think? Brainstorm 10 positioning statements that could appeal to this audience. This one, this one, this one. But you can't just stop there and be like, yep, that's the winner. Like, you have
Right.
to talk to me. No, that's not it. We have to talk more. What about this? Hey, this could be really good. Eventually, through the use of that and through our internal brainstorming, we landed on a tagline for them, which is "Together we create," and "together" being that allied message, kind of calling back to their name. And
Great.
I really love that brand, because now it's "Together we create community. Together we create opportunity. Together we create the spark." So all that sub messaging that goes with that is wonderful. But we would never have gotten there if we had only put in a few prompts and then relied on AI to spit that back out to us. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And, I think that's such a good point. I think people sometimes expect AI to do the hard work, but,
Mhm.
and to just sort of come up with the original ideas that are going to be groundbreaking.
Mhm.
But it's really, it's what you put into it, and it's the work
Yeah.
that goes back and forth.
And like
We think,
you said to get you have to know what good looks like. That's
yeah,
I love that. I love that line.
I probably stole it from somebody. So
It's all right. None of my ideas are original either, so it's all good. I'll just steal that from you if you don't mind. I really like that.
please do.
Yeah.
I promise you, it's not AI.
Let's talk about the challenge of taking on the position of brand marketing director for a legacy brand like Trek. I mean, is there a little bit of hesitation sometimes, intimidation from that, where you approach and you go, man, like, people love this for a reason. Maybe we shouldn't mess with Texas. Is there is there that kind of,
Yeah.
yeah? How do you balance that?
I think about it daily. And, I've been really fortunate to have great mentors in my time here at Trek.
Mhm.
And the brand, like you said, it's already so established, and people understand what Trek is and what Trek stands for at a really high level. And so I'm really grateful to step into a position where that piece of it is already established. I know
Mhm.
not everybody is so fortunate to have that. And
Yeah.
also the guidance and mentorship of people who've been in this building and been in the organization for much longer than I have.
Yeah.
Um, at the same time, let me give you an example.
Sure.
So earlier in the podcast, you asked about some defining brand initiatives. One of the
Yeah.
things we did recently is um, we're going to be releasing the third edition of the Trek brand book, which is primarily an
Mhm.
internal facing book, but it's this beautiful hardcover
Mhm.
piece that really defines what we stand for. And it's great for, like, if we
Yeah.
have a new employee,
Yeah.
read this book. It's everything you need to
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Yep, love it. Yep,
Yep.
we do. Yep, I totally on the same page with you. We love creating those for people because, like you said, it's the North Star. It's the compass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so part of this, of course, it's like we're happy when consumers see this too, because it's just a
Hmm.
really nice way to get our soul out there.
Hmm.
But the process of this, I had a hand in creating the two previous books,
Hmm.
um, two previous editions rather. And the feedback that we would get was like, hey, this is great. There are tons of great stories in here, but it's a little complicated. You've got this list of,
Hmm.
like, Trek's non-negotiables, of 16 items you have to know, the 6 rules of hospitality, the 10 lists of that, the 10 lists of that.
Hmm.
So, the exercise in this was, let's take a step back and think about what we really stand for.
Hmm.
And what we were able to do is boil down Trek's
Hmm.
values into 6 simple statements.
Hmm.
And, the reason that matters is that we had done some research and realized that people, unless you're a genius, you can't really remember or hold more than 5 or 6 things in your head at a
That's right.
time.
That's right.
So, simplicity was our friend here. So we boiled everything down, but it's really important. And this kind of gets at the heart of what you're saying, because uh, none of this was inventing something new. It was
Hmm.
about simplifying and uncovering stuff that was already there, but delivering the message in a way that people would be able to understand, remember, and then live by. And
That's
ultimately, that's what keeps the cycle going.
I love that. And it's so whenever I give like a branding presentation, I always include this exercise in it so that people can take this and do it for themselves, because it's a really daunting task, to be like, oh man, I gotta figure out that simplified message. And what I always give people is start with a page, write a full page, and then walk away, and then come back to it and reduce that to a paragraph, and then walk away and come back, reduce it to a sentence, walk away, come back, reduce that to 3 words, and then build it back up from that point, because it's going to be dramatically different. Well, I got that idea, like we were doing a shoot years ago in my previous job for this place called Nebraska City. Nebraska City, Nebraska is the home of Arbor Day. And so, so we were doing this educational video series for them. And one of the examples was how is maple syrup made, right? And so you go through the whole process of, we put whatever that device is into the tree, and then here comes the maple sap, and you have to have 40 gallons. You're going to learn something today. You have to have 40 gallons of maple sap to equal 1 gallon of maple syrup, right? And what do you do with that sap? You reduce it. Like, you have to low simmer it for hours and sometimes days, right, to get it to the consistency that you want. And I remember that made such an impression on me. And at some point over the years, I made that connection to, that's how we should be thinking about branding. We should think about it that same way, because those ideas, that's the maple sap. They live in the minds of the brand director. They live in the minds of the stakeholders, of the CEO, of whoever it is that's part of that organization. And so we should be extracting those things and then taking those ideas and those words and reducing them down to find what the soul of the brand truly is.
I love that. It's such a great metaphor.
It works pretty well, but it's a really good exercise too for people to do on their own. And I think it's great for people to even individually, think about that, and to bring it back. So as far as like process goes I bet you there's people that are going to listen to this that are going to be curious about, what's the process? What process do you take in order to arrive? Like you said, we arrived at these kind of 6 simple statements. How do you get there?
Well, I think, just kind of piggybacking on what you're saying here, like there are, everybody has ideas. And I think it's important to know that somebody who does a good job as a brander, they're great listeners. So they're taking ideas from everywhere. And, of course, there is top level leadership input on these sort of things. But then there are also ideas that come from lived experience within the building that we need to pick up and understand. So there has to be some equity there. And just like you're listening to everybody. The other piece is getting the ego out of the conversation. So let me just say the best creatives I've ever worked with are ones that truly check ego at the door and are great at taking feedback. So that means when somebody says, like me, it's great, make it half as long. There's no like preciousness to that. It's like all in the service of great work, which is all in the service of really for Trek getting more people on bikes. And there's that phrase that kind of floats around marketing circles. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but kill your darlings. Has anyone ever? Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're like the first person I think I've ever talked to that actually knows that phrase. So I'm like, okay, cool. That's outside of like agency world. So I'm like, cool.
For sure.
And the idea with that, I have no idea where it comes from, but it's, like you said, precious is the word you use. And I like that because if you're if the idea is too precious to you, you're never going to be able to see your way out of it. It's always going to, you got to be ready to say, you know what, I really wanted this to work, but it just doesn't work. Let's just get rid of it and let's go try something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to do it quickly, I think too.
Yeah. And I think you do this long enough and you realize that, great work that you can be really proud of, that really moves the organization, comes out of those uncomfortable moments of someone saying, we got to do this differently.
Sure.
That's where the gold is. So, for us, one example. So, one of the things that I have a hand in steering is Trek's brand voice and how we how we show up in our
Mm-hmm.
written word.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, we always had this definition that we followed that
Mm-hmm.
that I put together, and it was what a brand would do. And it was like kind of like, actually,
Mm-hmm.
if you put it into chat GPT and said, give me a brand voice, it's probably what they would have come back with. But this was years ago. And so I was looking at this for an update, and I realized not only was it kind of not representative of the Trek brand, it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't our best work couldn't be defined by
Yeah.
those statements that I put together. So I said, we got to redo this. What we
Mm-hmm.
landed on was something kind of unusual. It was just kind of like a tagline for the team. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just no BS, big heart, open arms, hell yeah. And so now we look at writing through that lens,
Yeah.
and we say, like, does it meet these standards?
Does it?
And
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
I love that.
And now it's nice and simple and it's clear. But the challenging thing is, like, several years ago,
Mm-hmm.
if someone had said, put this into 8 words instead of 50, I might have been offended by it. But you do it enough and realize that good things come out of that exercise.
You, the world.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Love to hear that. Yeah. Yeah.
Am I crazy? Is that just development that's happening here over the last couple of years? I don't know.
Not crazy at all. And in fact, I really appreciate you pointing that out. It's something it is intentional for sure. And it's rooted in this idea of inclusivity. So, like I said, I started working at a bike shop when I was 15. And I can tell you that even though is truly a great shop, that sort of place can be intimidating for people who aren't familiar with bikes.
For sure.
And part of that
For
comes
sure.
from the language of the industry, where
Mm-hmm.
it's complicated. We have these great, amazing tools, and these everything from suspension that's difficult to talk about, or
Right.
shifting. And think about it as a brand new rider. Like,
Oh
you
no, that's
walk
how
into this and
that's
it's
how I
like, yeah,
basically entered that. I mean, I rode a bike when I was a
yeah,
kid, and a lot of people that get into mountain biking later in life, like I did, I rode a bike. I know how to do that, but like, yeah, it
yeah,
is intimidating. 1x12s and derailleurs and all the. And I'm
yeah,
like, I don't know what you guys are talking about here. How much pressure
yeah,
do I need in the fork? I don't. What is a fork? And I just didn't know. I didn't
yeah,
know any of that stuff. Yeah.
totally. And the attitude is like, there should not be a level of knowledge that you need to have go have fun on a bike.
Yeah.
Bikes are for everybody. And so that's the root of everything. It's really like, hey, everybody's welcome here. Everybody should be on a bike. And
Yeah.
I just love that it is becoming louder from Trek.
Yeah. All right. Lightning round here. Are
All
you
right.
ready? Okay. Let's
You
go.
bet. Let's do it.
Okay. You're in Wisconsin, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll see how these answers vary from some of our East Coast or West Coast folks or whatever. Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
I'm going to say Coke. Classic. No notes.
Let's go. Marketing book, newsletter, a YouTuber, a blog. I don't know. Whatever. What would be a good recommendation for somebody that's listening to this that goes, hey, I want to learn something more about marketing. What would be your recommendation?
So there are a lot, but for me, I always go back to a book called Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And that's just a masterclass in clarity, simplifying your message, making your customer the focus. It's really empathy is a big part of it. And these are lessons that go all the way back to like Aristotle. If you get one book, that's a great place to start. And then, another book that actually was read a few years ago by pretty much the whole Trek organization. Is called Unreasonable Hospitality, and that's by Will
Yeah.
Guidara. And
Yeah.
he's the former owner of 11 Madison Park, which was the world's best restaurant. And it's interesting. It's not a marketing book on the surface,
Hmm.
but it is a marketing book because it's all about creating unforgettable experiences. And of course, that mindset applies to brand
Hmm.
building too. Um, so both of these books, if you
Okay.
grab two of them, uh, at the heart, I would say they're about making people feel seen. And
Okay.
that's what I think great branding, great marketing does.
Okay. I've had both of those recommended to me at various points. I've never read either of them, so I think you've inspired me to get on Amazon or something and pick up a copy here today. Yeah.
Great.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
The great debate. I'm going to say yes, but not always, right? It's like bold type or italics. There's a place for it, and you got to do it with intention.
Comic Sans, does that fit into that one as well, or?
I mean, maybe pineapple is the Comic Sans of pizza toppings.
That's some great copywriting we just came up with right there.
I
Comic
love it.
Sans, the pineapple of copywriting.
Yeah,
Okay, let's talk about that. I think I know which one you're going to pick here,
yeah,
but we got to ask the question just in case. If you could
sure.
only pick one and only do one the rest of your life, bike, hike, paddle, or climb.
Oh yeah. Well, your guess is going to be right. Bike for sure. I just, you know, you mentioned riding a bike as a kid.
Sure.
Now I ride a bike all the time. Uh, the bike for me is like you can have so many different experiences, and it's brought so much goodness to my life,
Hmm.
not just in career, but in just some of my best moments are on a bike ride with my wife, or
Hmm.
now with our 2-year-old son. He's kind of scooting around on a little Trek Kickster,
Yeah.
and it just brings an incredible amount of joy to my life that I realize uh, if bikes didn't exist, that wouldn't exist in the same way. The joy wouldn't exist in the same way. So I'm
Hmm.
just deeply appreciative to bikes in general. So of course I would choose that.
I love it. We've kind of already hit this, but maybe we can go from a different lens here, because you did recommend a couple of great books.
Yeah.
If there's one thing in the marketing space that you would encourage somebody listening to this right now to do, an action to take, what would it be? Would it be to read those books? Would it be something else?
I would say yes, read those books, but also I want to talk about inclusivity. And I say the action to take is to think about inclusivity in everything you're doing. And I think if you're in the outdoor industry, like consider this, or if you want to be in the outdoor industry, take this on as a responsibility. So, um, like I said, the outdoor industry can be kind of an intimidating place for people who maybe didn't grow up in a family that spent a lot of time outside or didn't have access to trails or bikes. And I think about how we can welcome more and more people into the fun and the joy that the outdoors can bring.
Mhm.
And even if you have that in the background of what you're thinking through, I think it'll make a really big difference.
Nice. Andrew, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you carving a little time out of your day to join, man. Thank you for doing that.
It's my pleasure, Miles. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, by the way, for those listening, is going to be one of our illustrious speakers. We'll use that adjective with you for the Outdoor Marketing Boot Camp coming up in February. So if you like what you heard from Andrew, he's going to dive deeper on that. And I'm super psyched for your session, by the way. I think it's going to be great.
Thanks. Me too. Me too.
Want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of the Outdoor Marketing Podcast. And don't forget, you can check out future episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube as well. And don't forget to visit the website. Check out the full lineup of speakers at outdoormarketingbootcamp.com. Thanks a lot.